Okay, we're live. For this Robot Roundtable, we're going to be playing a game. Keith is a dealer, but doesn't have as much experience with Yarbo. A lot of good knowledge with emotion and Segway as well. And but I'm a Yarbo user, and I have a Limo too, which I'll be talking about in a second. Haven't run it yet, but I have taken it apart a bit. And so we're going to be challenging Keith with some of our knowledge about these robots from real world experiences. In Bruce's case, he just borrowed this guy right here for about a month and is going to share a little bit about his experience. And yeah, so no further ado, have I missed anything, Bruce, Keith? I guess you're a dealer out in Milwaukee. Bruce is a fellow. Well, actually, you're not a Michigander. You live in Illinois, right?
Mm-hmm. But venture up to Michigan often.
Yep. And then your background, you're some sort of software engineer or something?
Yeah, so mechanical engineering and software engineering. Just kind of have a side passion for robotics. So have ventured into the lawnmower space and trying to see what solutions are out there.
Yeah, well, I guess there's no reason that Keith and I can't go head to head on your questions. I feel like I might be a bit of a disadvantage or advantage. But yeah, you want to hit us with your? So we're going to be doing, in the spirit of robotic sales and marketing, we're going to be lying to you about how these things work and certain facts about them. But most of them are going to be true, in keeping with the tradition of marketing. But at least we dealers will tell you which things are true or false, and we're not going to make you buy a robot to find out which ones are overhyped or which facts are not so fact-like. So that's the spirit of this game. And I guess, Bruce, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Why don't you kick it off?
Okay. So I got to randomize the order of this. I'm gonna. Okay. So my 4 facts are: the Limo blades are razor sharp. The Yarbo blades are razor sharp. Most of the screws on the Limo are Phillips head, and the Limo has an active cooling fan. So if I reread them, the Limo blades ship razor sharp. The Yarbo blades ship razor sharp. Most of the screws on the Limo are Phillips head, and the Limo has an active cooling fan. You got. Well, pick your answers to yourselves first. We don't want to. And just let me know when you've got them, and tell me which one you picked and why.
All right. Well, I have mine in my head.
Okay, Bruce.
Yep.
You want me to read them again? Okay. All right. Hit me with it, Bruce. Which one did you pick and why?
So I went with the active cooling fan. I think that would be an interesting feature, especially on a robot that lives outside for most of the time. And kind of with the hope that they do ship their blades at a good level of sharpness.
Copy that. Keith?
All right. I'm going to call out that Limo ships their blades razor sharp, because my understanding is they do not. And although I have to put an asterisk because you didn't specify which Yarbo blades you were talking about, if you were talking about the pros or if you were talking about the razors, because if you're talking about the razors, then they have to be razor sharp, right?
I should have said the Yarbo Pro mower module, which this guy back here.
Okay.
But you are correct, Keith, in one sense, in that it does actually ship with this newer style Razor Frisbee, and it comes with razor blades on it. So I found that very interesting when I opened the box. I was expecting to see these blades there, but it was just it is redesigned though. It doesn't have like the catch points under here that the regular Pro did, which not the regular Pro, the regular mower, which you can see after Bruce has thoroughly abused this machine. No, he was just cutting grass. It wasn't abuse. But the grass clippings do get caught up under here and make it a little more stiff. So if it hits a rock, it won't
I heard that those
necessarily pull back in.
I heard that the discs that ship with the Pro, those aren't actually to install on the mower. Those are home defense razor frisbees. You throw those at intruders when they try to take your yarbow.
Oh, yeah. Always keep a couple spare for that. So, and actually, Keith, you were correct in another sense in that the Limo blades do not ship razor sharp. I was surprised to see that, when I took the Limo apart, it does have an active cooling fan in there. Not only that, but the battery itself has fins on it for increased surface area.
Interesting.
And it's an LFP chemistry battery. So it's almost like they were obsessed with heat dissipation and went all out on the design elements to make that happen. Or they just really like fans, because they also have fans under here to help with the discharge of the. A disappointment, though, it is true, in fact, that most of the screws on the Limo are Phillips head. At least the ones that the user would regularly access. I don't quite understand why. It seems much easier to strip them out, but be that as it may, you can always buy some bolts to replace them. Hex head is what I got from Lowe's. And the Yarbo blades ship extremely sharp, razor sharp, in fact. And I don't know, at first I thought they might be titanium because of the gold color, but I think it might just be electroplated with zinc. You can get like kind of a funky color. Because I was able to scrape the coating off pretty easily. But that kind of makes sense, because you wouldn't be able to hold a razor edge if you're like hot dip galvanized, obviously would. So I think that's like a corrosion prevention thing. I'm guessing it's zinc that they've coated it with. And I think that was the other three. The Limo blades do not ship razor sharp. The Yarbos do. Limo does have an active cooling fan, and most of the screws that you first encounter on the Limo are Phillips head. So tell us about your experience, Bruce. See if you can beat us both.
Jeez, I don't know if that's the case. I know mine are a little less technical, more about experience or adventures the robot went on. But let's see. I have the Yarbo ended up in a garden on multiple occasions due to loss of guidance. The razor discs are interchangeable. It traversed over a 2-foot long or wide ditch, and the robot can cut very well in a thunderstorm.
It can cut well in a thunderstorm, traverse a 2-foot wide ditch, ended up in a garden multiple times. I mean, I'm sure that one. Well, I'm not going to comment. And what was the other one? I don't.
The razor discs are interchangeable.
Okay, could you elaborate on that? What do you mean?
You can switch them back and forth with each other. You can switch them.
Okay. So this one can go here and vice versa?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not unique to the either side.
Okay, I think I know what I want to pick.
Okay, cool. Keith, are you set?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All right, since you since you won the last round, Keith, why don't you go first?
All right, I am going to say I'm going to say the thunderstorm is not a good time to run your Yarbo.
No, that was an interesting one. As Michigan weather goes, it changes on a dime. So there's definitely times where it was outside and it picked up raining pretty quickly. I have to say that it has a rain sensor. Would not say I don't know quite how it works, but it was either too sensitive or not sensitive enough. And there was definitely times where it was out there in a thunderstorm. And at the end of the day, it got a little dirty, but it was able to still continue to cut.
Look at its thing. All right. Well, that's I would say that the rain sensor thing is definitely not unique to Yarbo. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, that pretty much every rain sensor that's out there, they are basically just use two little pins that get saturated with water, and unfortunately, depending on where the rain hits and how long it sits there, it may or may not make the connection. I think that there is definitely a manufacturer out there that has the weather aware nailed, and it is not Yarbo or whatever, but basically just using internet connectivity and local weather awareness is far better than the little 2 pins that need to get saturated. So I'm going to give I'm going to say that that's better, but either way. So all right, run it in a thunderstorm and it'll make it through. All right, very good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Still survives. Isaac, how about you?
It was between that and the one that I actually picked, and then I looked over at the Yarbo, so I admit I have an unfair advantage. He has clearly run this through wet grass, and it doesn't appear to be completely fouled up, but I mean, it is just caked. Oh, it's still wet. It's been like in the garage for a couple days and it's still wet. So the one I actually picked was it traversed a 2-foot wide ditch. And I took issue with the word ditch. Like it can go over a decent amount of terrain, but like a 2-foot wide ditch, that implies to me like a shear on the sides. So I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, that was a fun adventure. We were laying conduit for internet cable, and we're digging all these ditches, and all of a sudden we look around and the Yarbo has made the turn around the corner and was going that direction. And to our surprise, it actually made it across without an issue.
No, it didn't.
The suspension between the front like cutting blades and the back is so strong that it just kind of hobbled on over, and with the tank treads we had no issue. Obviously I didn't let it run through that again, but we were very shocked.
Where's I had a tape measure around here. Like I don't even think it's 2 feet long.
Well, it went over at a 90-degree angle, so it hit it correctly.
So it just barely spanned. Okay. Wow. Because I would have thought the back end would have fallen in.
No, we did have times though. The yard we were cutting actually comes up to the lake, and over the course of the summer, the shoreline changed. So I did have a few times where the boundary line actually ended up being over a cliff, and I had to go save it there. But when it hit it head on, it just motored over everything. It was really impressive.
Wow. So with the cliff, so the wheels like fall. It's supposed to be like a cliff detection. I think it can be turned off. I'm not sure if it's on or off, but did it get that close to where you triggered like cliff detection, or you adjusted it before it got there?
Truthfully, I didn't know that was a feature. But a lot of times what would happen is it would detect wheel spin. So when one of the treads got off or in the air, that was when it would kind of detect a wheel spin and non-movement.
Gotcha. So what about the other? There were some others that were true. You want to tell us the tale of those?
Sure. I think similar to the changing of the shorelines, what happened a lot is we were very impressed with the actual accuracy of it cutting along the sides. What we weren't expecting was my mom changing the layout of the gardens while the robot was cutting over the summer. So a lot of times we'd come out and the robot would end up in the garden, not because it had done anything wrong, but mostly because my mom had changed where the garden was itself. So that was a fun few shocks. Um, and yeah, it again, really impressed with the mobility. I think the one thing there is it does make a whining noise that if you're used to a traditional kind of lawnmower, it's a much higher pitch, and that can get irritating after a long time. But overall, it's definitely quieter in the moment when it's cutting. I think when the blades turn on and all that is, you barely realize that they're going, which is amazing. It's just more the movement that is noticeable. And then we did find kind of the trick. I don't know if it's trick or it's just industry knowledge at this point. Because the razor blades spin in opposite directions, if you interchange the discs, you can get kind of a second life out of the blades without actually taking off each individual razor blade and flipping them over.
So yeah, take it off, put it over here, and then you're cutting with the opposite side of the blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that one. I knew that one.
I have to give my dad credit for that. He was the one like, why don't we just do it this way?
Well, I guess credit is owed because I didn't think of that. Yarbo told me I had had a Yarbo for an embarrassingly long amount of time before somebody pointed out you could swap them. And that would save you a lot of time in flipping the razor blades over. And then, so that's crazy though. Everybody's, freaking out. Oh, the map drifted. There's a feature where you can correct the map. Sometimes the RTK, I think it's pretty infrequent, but it does happen where the whole map will shift. But in this case, the actual world shifted.
Yeah.
It's a garden. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, no map drift on our end. It was pretty locked in. I think we had a few moments where it would lose cellular or satellite, but since it had two antennas on there, it normally would kind of find it up pretty quickly here. I did have one time where a hose unscrewed the antenna, but it was undamaged and I was able to just screw it back on and it worked okay.
That's crazy. It unscrewed it.
Yeah. It was just running along the hose and it just kind of rolled and undid it somehow. And I had to go look back and I was like, it was just kind of sitting in the middle of the yard. And I was like, oh, what a save.
I swear you have like some of the richest life experiences with the Yarbo. That sounds like a 1 in a million.
I just glad I didn't break one of those.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think I left you a spare one just in case.
You did, yeah. Much appreciated.
Yeah. So you would have been fine. But yeah, pro tip. If you get a Yarbo, probably ought to order an extra RTK antenna or two. All right, Keith. You want to hit us with some specialized motion knowledge from the year? At least tell us something we didn't know.
Tell you something you didn't know about Mammotion. Well, I think I'll just make a broad statement that Mammotion gets a bad rap online. I know some of the other brands do as well, but I just had a very vivid conversation online in sort of defending Mammotion, and I think one of the things that just comes up very frequently is I'll apply this to anything. This really isn't Mammotion, but any of the RTK based mowers, it is very critical to set them up properly in the beginning, because if you don't, you will absolutely run into problems. And for a lot of people, I will say that their very first instinct is to sort of blame the mower design. This thing is a piece of junk, things like that. But in my personal experience, especially over the summer, I personally installed like, I don't know, probably at least 15 Mammotion Luba 2X mowers. And not a single one of those has had any navigation issues, anything outside of the normal. Again, there's been a lot of solar flares. I don't know if people really realize it too much, but solar flare activity and electromagnetic activity is a real thing, and it can affect GPS signals. People kind of say, well, my car GPS isn't telling me to take the wrong turn, but that's accurate within 10, 15 feet versus needing to be accurate down to an inch. So the big difference is that level of accuracy requires a lot more of a signal lock from a lot more satellites. And so if you're ending up with electromagnetic activity, it will definitely mess with the inch level, centimeter level accuracy. But the biggest thing is simply the initial installation of that RTK reference station being absolutely rock solid. This is going to apply, with the Yarbo. It's going to apply with the Mammotions, Segways, all those. Is making sure that you have that and making sure that you're not setting your machine up to fail. That's probably the biggest thing. In me, speaking with people is there is a desire for people to hide their mower. There is a desire for people to put their mower antenna into a less conspicuous place, but unfortunately, that's not how they operate properly. So you can try to put your RTK reference station in an attic, next to a house, under the eave. You can try to put your mower under the deck and, in a tiny little corner behind the house, but you will almost always run into operational issues. And it might not mean that it won't work at all, but it might not start sometimes. It might throw errors. It might be less accurate. And so I think that the biggest thing is making sure that installation and setup is done properly. And then as far as Mammotion goes specifically, I think that one of the biggest issues that they have had has been firmware rollouts without proper testing. And I don't want to knock on them too bad, because I know there's a million machines out there, and I know that they're up against a lot of different environments and a lot of different actual model versions that they're trying to upgrade. But I would say definitely more testing on their part before they roll things out, because Mammotion, amongst all of the brands that I've dealt with, has had the most issues with firmware rollouts, and then having to roll out a hot fix or having to roll back a version because they're basically putting out a version that, in one way or another, makes things worse for enough users that they're pretty unhappy about it. So.
But Keith, what better way to test the firmware than to push it out to everybody and see what
push it out public? I mean, there are other tech manufacturers, not mower related, other tech manufacturers that I think basically just that is their testing. They just roll it out and just see how it goes. I wouldn't recommend it, but again, I don't think there are certainly things that I would call myths about Mammotion in general. People, I don't think that Mammotion has a higher overall failure rate based on the number of machines that they sell around the world versus other manufacturers. I don't think that they probably have a much higher failure rate. I think probably the gold standard at this point for me is the Segway Navimos, in terms of the just overall consistency with reliability, the app working properly, firmware working properly, mowers doing what they're expected to do, but they're not without problems. So it's kind of one of those things where you need a longer term and a little bit more of a sample size to be able to really see exactly what's going on. But Mammotion has so many units out in the wild, having sold them, for 5 years, starting with Kickstarter, that they just have they have a very big user base, and that big user base is very vocal about what they like and do not like about things. And so I think when a new user comes in, or somebody who's looking to try to find a robot mower that's going to work for them, they get scared away by the negativity. But I think a lot of that, again, isn't really based off of the current situation. It's really based off of mowers that were early production models Definitely a completely different usage of the technology, not using vision for navigation assistance, not using any real backups to RTK. So they were very, very reliant on proper RTK. And we know at this point that that RTK is not perfect. And any mower at this point that I would recommend would absolutely have multiple backup systems to RTK for navigation and obstacle avoidance, just to make sure that it's safe and again doesn't run over mom's garden, because that's not good. That's the robot's not going to make friends with mom if it's tearing up the garden all the time.
Yeah, I thought I had caught my Segway the other day, the I-110. Get out of here. Yeah. I was sure that I had caught it screwing up. It was all over the place. It was going out of bounds, and but in fact, Keith, you want to guess what the problem was?
You had a slug on your screen on your camera.
No, far more regular than that. I had moved my RTK antenna, which obviously I remapped after I moved the antenna, but I moved it to a spot that was like between two trees because I had to. There was like a festival in town, and so I wanted it set up out by the road. And the I-Series, you can get an extension cable. I have an extension cable for the antenna. It's just simpler to put the antenna right next to the docking station because that's what it plugs into. And so it worked fine for where the robot was. I think it's that whole like co-located satellite idea where the satellites that were obstructed were basically the same ones for the RTK station and the robot. And then I mapped it in somewhere else, my backyard actually, which also has 4 satellite coverage. And man, it was thinking it was probably like 2-3 feet off. So it was in the flower beds, trying to cut those down. Fortunately, the terrain capabilities are pretty limited on it, so it didn't get very far off-roading or off-lawning. But yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I'm the idiot.
Well, you moved you moved your RTK, so again, definitely have to make sure that it's in a good spot. I mean, it's
well, I got it to pass. I had to move it around a bit, and it did eventually pass where it was, but clearly a pass is not an A+ all the time. I think a D- is still a pass.
And I think obstacle avoidance and boundary minding, I mean, there's absolutely, again, I would have to say that the Luba 2X does pretty well with obstacle recognition and knowing that it's about to go outside of its boundaries. I mean, it can see that it can see the difference between pavement and grass. I think Segway's X3 series is definitely probably the gold standard when it comes to that, with the 300-degree cameras, and but I think all of these machines are getting better over time as the machine learning is kicking in. They're processing a ton of data from the machines and basically having them be able to figure out the difference between slightly tall grass and a prize rose bush or something, So I mean, it's definitely, I think all those things are a work in progress. But to me, I think that the biggest thing for all the manufacturers is simply to combine as many technologies as possible into the individual mower. So you've got your RTK for basic navigation, you've got ultrasonic sensors for obstacle detection, you've got your vision to basically be able to keep it on boundary and be right where it needs to be, whether that's straddling the boundary or riding right up against it. And then maybe even the addition of LiDAR or another technology that basically will allow it to maintain that functionality, especially at night. I mean, I've actually been running my Segway overnight with the big front headlight on, and it's actually been fine. Matter of fact, I haven't noticed any difference in the cut quality or the obstacle avoidance or anything at night, even though they say it's a little less sensitive. But it's been perfect for me, and so I can run it overnight when it's a little less dewy, and then have it get done, at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever when the dew starts to settle. And so it's actually been much better, much less grass caking like you got on your on your yarbo there. That's not good. It's not too fun to have to clean off.
Do you think? Well, and I'll ask Bruce first. Do you guys have an opinion on what time of year might be the best to actually buy a robot? Right now, Motion is having a pretty steep discount, which dealers should also all honor. Are you right, Keith? That you offer the same discounts as Motion, or are there cases where that's not true?
Yeah, no, all pricing. I mean, my goal has simply been to match the best available online pricing. So if the manufacturer's running a sale, we're running the same sale. Same thing when it comes to people get pretty fired up about Prime days and things like that. We match all those prices just to make sure that it's a level playing field and people don't have to price shop.
So is there a best time, or I guess Bruce, what is your just from the hip opinion on when might be the best time to buy a robotic lawnmower? When you go out to cut your grass for the first time? Is it during Black Friday sale, or what do you think?
I think just kind of there is a price sensitivity to it. I think there's a wide range of different models that you can do. I know, kind of for our needs, I think one thing I didn't really account for when kind of starting this journey was just the turning radius and how big the robots are. So actually seeing them in person was a huge benefit to kind of directing kind of the purchase patterns. Just because you have to think about not only can it cut large pieces of grass, but also can it navigate tighter flower beds or kind of edged gardens. So I think that was something that took a little bit of a learning curve. But going back to kind of when's the best time, I think you need time to break in and kind of figure out the mower. So I probably would recommend not at the end of the summer, just because you do need to get some cuts in. But I think anytime kind of midsummer, early spring, or even in the winter, if you know that it's something that you want to pursue at the start of the next year.
Keith, what do you think?
Well,
You're a dealer, so the best time to buy is always now, right?
The best time to buy is right this minute. Contact me immediately. But I would definitely say it. Here, I'm going to give you a really good one. It depends, but it does depend, because I would say if you are already familiar with robot mowing, maybe you're upgrading an existing model and you just want the one that's out now, and you want to get the best possible price. The best possible price is pretty similar to car shopping, I would say. You come in at the end of the model year and you buy one that's the previous technology, and as long as you're okay with that and you kind of know what you're getting, you can get a really good deal between now and Black Friday, say. However, for people who are looking at this as a first-time technology, possibly going to want to see a demo, either on site at their property, or come to a public open house type event and see them in action. There may or may not be those going on right now, but the manufacturers are all coming out with some type of new model over the winter. So they time it so that basically the newest model with the best technology is going to be out in the spring. Some of the manufacturers do offer a spring kind of kickoff event, and I know from myself as a dealer, we'll be doing that to sort of promote the early season sales, because as soon as prime grass growing season happens, at least here in the Midwest, it's gangbusters. We're super busy. We've got installs booked out for a couple of weeks. We're definitely, that's not the time when you're going to get the best possible price. It might be when you're thinking about it, but it's not when you're going to get the best possible price. So I would say, if you're okay with the current models, you can get some awesome deals right now between now and Black Friday. If you're looking for the newest technology, then definitely early spring, jump on it before the prime growing season. And you're going to get a good combination of price and the best new tech. And like Bruce said, gives you the opportunity to be able to kind of get the thing dialed in so that, you know, come midsummer when you really don't want to be out there mowing, it's all, you know, everything's good. It's running and it's on autopilot for the most part.
And before you buy, Keith, what's the worst mistake that you can make?
Well, I mean, the worst mistake you can make basically is picking the wrong robot. You know, so to me, if you're someone who is interested in the technology, make sure that you reach out to a dealer and actually
There you go.
talk about your specific lawn, talk about what you need to accomplish, because I probably would say that 50% of the people, maybe more than 50% actually, that contact me and say, I'm looking for this model. And I say, okay, no problem. I have it. But tell me a little bit more about your lawn. Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing. And over, 50% of the time, they will tell me something that will rule out that original mower that they were going to purchase. So now if they had gone through with that purchase and just bought it on the manufacturer website or bought it on Amazon or whatever, they would end up with the wrong mower for the job. And basically they would be disappointed. So they'd either end up returning it or just kind of living with it and kicking themselves for it or whatever. So the biggest thing is just simply reach out to a professional, make sure that you understand what mowers have what capabilities. I know it's super difficult when you're online, you're looking at all these charts and they all have all kinds of marketing nonsense built into them. And so it's really just critical to be able to pick the right mower for your particular property, and have a professional endorse that. And then if you do, just everything is going to go so much better for you.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, couldn't have said it better. And then, these are early days in terms of the live streams. So we'll give you something to get advance notice, and you can get some of your questions in and have them answered. I will say, back on the topic of when is the best time of year to buy them, it occurs to me that right after the newest model comes out isn't necessarily like the best time. Although, like you said, I think that probably is a really good sweet spot in the spring. But basically, there's going to be another model, another brand, somebody that comes onto the market in a year. So I think approaching it with the right mindset is really important, because it's like it can either be you can either see something better on the market in 3 months if you buy during fall, or I guess 5 months, give or take. And then you're gonna be, man, I wish I had that one. Or you can just that's basically only like 5 or 6 months where it's like, yeah, I got the latest and greatest. There's nothing better. But you're gonna have the robot for 3+ years. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that great of a strategy to get the latest and greatest, as long as the previous models are, decent quality. And I think we're to that point now where, other than Kickstarter projects and stuff, there are some pretty well-known brands out there where it's not going to be a huge headache for you.
Yeah, I think one thing I would say about that is the current models that are out right now are very good, but the model cycle, I guess, is sort of what I was talking about, where if you are looking for something that has newer features, for instance, a lot of people are talking about the addition of addition of LiDAR basically to existing technology that will potentially help the mowers be even more accurate, and be able to work in more different environments. And if you're interested in something like that, a lot of the mowers that are out right now don't have that. So then basically next model cycle, you're going to have multiple models that are going to have that. But really it's just about the model cycles and when they're introduced, because, for the most part, the manufacturers are targeting, at least for North America, targeting to have their models readily available, completely rolled out in the spring ahead of the growing season. Now, for people who are in, Southern Florida or something, number one, I'm jealous of them. But number two, you know, they don't have to, they're not really as worried about the model cycles. But if you want to get the most use out of a new mower, you know, you get the robot in the spring and get it rolled out then. And you do have a good selection at that point. I mean, you're going to be able to choose from the newest one. You're also going to be able to choose from the previous model, probably at a discounted price. You know,
Well, yeah, and then the money back guarantee, I think becomes. I'm wrestling through this idea myself at the moment when it's the best time. But and if you buy it Black Friday, you're not going to be cutting grass with it, so your return window is going to come and go.
Yeah, Black Friday. I mean, I would just say Black Friday, or really, you know, again, Prime Day is coming up or whatever, Black Friday. If you have a mower in mind, like you're replacing one and you're just getting the same model, you want to buy a second one for a different property or something like that, and you already know what you're getting. I mean, I think that that's a really ideal time to be able to score like the absolute best price. But you know, we're not really talking about thousands and thousands of dollars in savings. You know, I mean, basically, you know, the difference between a regular deal and a great deal is basically, you know, a handful of $100 bills, you know. So I mean, it's not that that's not a significant amount of money, but you know, for most people, it's not worth saving that couple $100 versus having more choice and basically being able to get the mower at in the proper, like you said, the proper return window. Making sure that they're able to get it out of the box and get it set up. I mean, if you did get one, you know, if you're in the Midwest and you get one on Black Friday, I mean, you're not going to unbox it and use it for, you know, 5-6 months. So if you did get one that was DOA for some reason or something, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to deal with that in the spring versus having just bought one at that time. So I would say that would be the biggest thing about timing is, you know, if best price is the most important and you know what you're getting yourself into, then by all means, Black Friday, get a clearance model, but otherwise probably wait until spring and see what's available out there, have a wider set of choices. People love choices, and there's nothing wrong with choices, but you know, just being able to do that and still get a good price, I think is spring.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I'm you know, actually pretty convinced now myself as well.
We already converted someone.
Yeah. So if you guys want to, the audience that is, I don't know if anybody's actually joined. We could have comments, but nope, I don't see any. So if you want to get a heads up next time, just I think somewhere in the link tree under my YouTube channel, you can find contact info 231-442-9011. Text something like Roundtable or Lie or something like that if you want to get a heads up of the next event. And it may be a Equip Expo. We'll probably be doing some day-to-day impressions of, at the end of the day, what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't. Maybe even some live walking around, and you can ask questions of the manufacturers yourself through us as a proxy. So yeah, hoping to bring you more truths, and we're gonna slip a few lies in there occasionally, like we did today. But we're gonna tell you when we're gonna tell you when that is. And yeah, I think it'll help people keep their critical thinking caps on and really understand what they're getting themselves into and what might or might not pan out in a fun way. Because it's not fun to figure those things out once you have it and you're trying to set it up. So
yeah, I think one thing that I would like to encourage anyone who watches this, if you have programming ideas, you know, if you have something that you'd like to see us do an episode on that you find that would be very helpful, I would love to have that opportunity to be able to address some customer specific customer concerns, whether that be in a demo or a Q&A or just fact finding. I think that would be great. I will also say that if you have any specific questions about your property, if there's anything that I can do to help, LawnBots Robotic Mowing, that's LawnBotzwi.com. and reach out to me. I'd be happy to help out with that. I'm based in just outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and so definitely interested in helping if you need any assistance.
Yeah, and that's anywhere in the country, right? You're not going to fly to California to install a robot, but you
I have started to do video consultations. It's actually gone pretty well. I will virtually walk the lawn with you. I can help you figure out what the right robot is for the property. I can help you identify where to place your RTK, where to place your charging base, and basically I also then do back that up with my 100-day satisfaction guarantee. So you have 100 days to get that mower, get it set up, and figure out if it's right for you. And if not, we're going to make sure that we get you set up with the right one, or take it back. So I think that that's important for people, especially with the emerging technologies. And I definitely want to lend a hand with that if at all possible. So definitely nationwide, just probably not Hawaii or Alaska, but shipping just gets a little tricky going out those places.
Yeah. Wow, that's there's a reason right there. Putting your money where your mouth is in terms of the satisfaction guarantee. I don't think any manufacturers offer anything close to that. Which, as a dealer, we're making recommendations that's based on our word, and it's very important to us, but we understand you don't necessarily know us, or at least Keith seems to understand that and is backing it up. Not to be abused, I assume, but
not to be abused. I definitely, but I've put that out there. We're making it official. Right now, basically. But I have definitely told people in the past, and I have backed that up, that if I make you a recommendation, that I'm going to stand behind that recommendation. And if it's not working, I'm going to help you figure out why, and we're going to either get it fixed, or we're going to get it swapped out, or we're going to do what we need to do. And I think that the trust part of it is super important. Again, the price points of these machines can definitely be up there. And so for people making the commitment, I definitely want there to be confidence with that, and to know that I, as a dealer, have their back. And you will not get something like that from the manufacturer directly. You will not get something like that from Amazon or a big box store. You won't get the initial consultation, and you won't get the 100-day satisfaction guarantee. So I think that those are things that I'm doing to set myself apart. But it is all about trust and about making sure that you're 100% happy with what you get.
100%. Bruce, you've been silent for a little while. I want to give you a chance. Do you have any questions for either of us while
Oh gosh. I think some of the stuff that we kind of experienced over the summer, I think, and kind of looking towards kind of the new emerging technologies, we're starting to see a lot more of the mowers come out with fixed blades. Do you think that's just kind of a fad, that they're just trying something new and trying to align it with existing more traditional mowing styles? Or do you think that there is a technical improvement with that shift?
This could be a long answer. Keith, what do you think? Or do you want me to go first?
You can go first. I'll chime in, but I don't have as much experience with the fixed blades in person as you do, Isaac.
So so I think there's a lot to be said for a product that has been tried and true, tested, refined over, gosh, it's probably been 100 years since, maybe not quite that long, 50 years, and that design has been being refined. So I don't think we can just dismiss that out of hand. Certainly don't want to speak for the mechanical engineers at the companies, but I suspect that this was everybody just copying Husqvarna, and Husqvarna was a European country, and they needed a really safe, it was brand new stuff at the time, and so I think they needed to be 1,000% sure that it was not going to ever hurt anybody. Plus, it was a bigger brand name. So I think that the little razor blades did not come out of a desire to cut the grass better. Whether or not they do, I couldn't say. But I've seen razor blades cut grass pretty poorly, so I don't think it's a guarantee. Certainly, when they're the sharpest, you're going to have better cut quality.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just the sharpness that matters, like you can sharpen a regular blade as well as in a flail blade, I think. So my gut says that the traditional blade style is probably superior. But pretty big caveat to that, on the design side, there's a huge trade-off because the big advantage is you're creating that airflow and you're sucking up the grass and you're doing a more thorough cut, which I think, honestly, if you're trying to get to the grass, like you want to be thorough. But it's not going to be the same as the traditional mower because those are gas powered. They have a lot more power. And you hear the loud roar of the mower. And so I think the key there is airflow. And if you're blowing air around with an electric motor, you're going to drain your battery really quickly. Mm-hmm. So I haven't taken the Limo out yet. Wow, that was a really long I don't know, but probably traditional blades. I feel like it's a toss-up, quite honestly, and this is kind of my flaw. I always end up somewhere in the middle on things.
You gotta have an opinion, Isaac. Just pick a side.
Okay, I have an opinion. I think that the flail blades are just a marketing ploy. I don't think that they're inherently that much better. And it's because of what I just said, the airflow aspect of it. Well, first of all, you got to have somewhere for the air to go, right? And some people who shall be nameless didn't seem to have accounted for anywhere for that air to go. I mean, sure, you want to suck up the grass, and then what? Like, there's not just like a black hole that you can shove it into. It's got to go somewhere. And I think that was overlooked. If the goal was a thorough cut, not by Limo, they provided separate fans, but I think it's going to be a drain on your battery. I think you could probably get the same effect with razor blades and more than one mower. You're going to need a bigger battery. As a dealer, I can see people don't want to make all these leaps, right? You don't want to jump to a robot, to electric, and to razor blade cutting all at once. So, I think Limo. Time will tell. I need to take it out and test it and see how much more thorough it is. It is Saturday, so I probably will go cut the grass today. That was my opinion. If I had to fall on one side or the other, I would say it's a marketing ploy and not so much concrete benefit.
I want to see your. I'm interested in your Limo mowing impressions. I want to see some footage. So yes, definitely, please do that. I will just chime in and say that I do think the razor blade design simply was Husqvarna had it back in the day. It was safe. The razor blades retract back when they hit anything of substance. So definitely a safety for sure. I think when those were introduced, battery technology and motor technology were nowhere near as advanced as they are today. So they had to keep them super lightweight and keep the cutting surface down. Now, I think with current motor and battery technology, they have the ability to be able to keep these larger fixed blades spinning for a lot longer and account for the larger cutting surface. I would say that it probably depends also whether you would need a fixed blade or whether a razor blade style would work best for you. It will depend on a couple of things. Number one, that is coming up all the time here. I get the question, especially right now, this time of year, leaves. So people are very, very concerned about whether the mower will mulch their leaves, and the razor blades will absolutely not. There is no razor blade mower that will mulch a leaf. So from that standpoint, if you need that mulching capability, I think that a fixed blade is probably going to be something that you should look at. I don't necessarily think it's a fad or a marketing ploy. I think the actual answer in terms of what the best design is possibly a design that we haven't seen yet. I think it's probably a hybrid between the razor blade style, meaning more individual cutting surfaces, and the larger fixed blades. I've actually seen some kind of interesting designs that, believe it or not, are actually from old mowers from many years ago that actually have a super lightweight aluminum sort of three-pointed star thing going on, and they actually seem to have. I'm not sure why somebody isn't trying those right now, but I'd probably say something's going to be developed that has a certain amount of lift built into it because of the blade design. And as long as the deck is designed properly to go along with that, it's going to provide kind of the best of both worlds with that. However, I think that the number one thing is mowing basically constantly. Robotic mowing is meant to be a daily run situation. You will almost always have missed blades of grass, and so the key is going to be having your mower mowing in different directions on a daily basis, because whether you're using razor blades or whether you're using fixed blades, the fact of the matter is that the robot is traveling at X speed, and especially in dense grass, it's just simply going to miss a certain number of blades. So if you want that really clean, maintained cut, and you don't want clippings laying all over the place, you're going to want to be running it on a daily basis, taking off that eighth of an inch of new growth, and grabbing any blades that were missed on the previous cut. You're going to end up with the green carpet effect, which I think is what everybody's really after, and that can be accomplished with either kind of blade. So for people who are looking to do the bushwhacking and only run the mower, once every 10 days out in a field somewhere, you're going to have to go with fixed blades. Razor blades aren't going to do it for you. But if you're looking for the more traditional use of a robotic mower, daily mowing, really fine cut, either one could work for you. But I personally, not being an engineer of any kind, would encourage somebody out there to test a bunch of different blade designs, unique designs that aren't out there right now, and find one that's the best combination of cutting surface, weight, safety, battery life, all those different things. I think that there's something better out there, but somebody needs to invent it and stick it on one of these mowers.
I think if the issue is battery life, and so you can't create enough airflow, you need some sort of brush mechanism that brushes the grass up and almost holds it while the razor blades cut it. But all of my daydreams of how that might work I'm rudely awakened from them when I remember that sometimes people have sticks and things in the yard, and it's almost like trying to imagine running a vacuum cleaner out in your yard and see how long the beater bar lasts before it gets caught on something. So I don't know. I agree though. I think there's something else out there. And Limo, actually, I don't know how closely you guys followed the early days of Limo. They actually had like a hedge trimmer type setup, and that was their idea for a superior way to cut. I think they had issues with thicker grass though, like St. Augustine in particular. And so I imagine they had to have made the motor strong enough to cut through quite a bit of stuff. But when you do that, then your battery life goes down. So, whatever the reason, they definitely abandoned that in favor of traditional blades. And
well, travel speed is important too, because you can get a better cut if you run the thing at half a foot a minute or something, but it'll never get done. So I mean, I think the thing is that you're balancing the amount of time it takes to mow a certain area along with the blade speed, along with to kind of balance everything, and that's the part that is tougher. But I do think that the more and more energy dense that the batteries get, the people, because that's probably the biggest thing with coverage area, is not having the mower keep running back to the charging base. It isn't really that anybody's having to deal with it. So I tell people kind of, battery life isn't the most important thing, but if you're trying to cover a large area and you're trying to do the daily cutting, you definitely don't want the mower traveling back and forth to the charging base constantly. So the more energy dense batteries you can put into the mower to keep it running for the longest time before it has to go back and charge, I think is gonna improve just the overall experience with the mowers. But you start putting those larger motors on for the bigger blades, and then all of a sudden, you end up with right, and then you've got the what is that, a 36-pound battery or something like that for the Argo?
I don't know. It feels light as a feather to me, but I'm pretty strong.
Oh yeah, well you're just you're working out constantly by lifting those things.
Yeah. Compared to the Arbo itself, it's a feather.
Right, because you need a ramp to get that into a vehicle to move it anywhere. Well, either way, I would just definitely like to one more time encourage anybody who watches this video. These are pretty fun, especially for me as a dealer, to kind of get some of that knowledge out there and share. If anybody has any subject matter that they would like us to tackle in a future episode, I'd absolutely recommend to leave that as a comment or reach out to Isaac or me and throw something out there for us to tackle in a future episode that you would find interesting or helpful. We would love to.
Or if you have something to add to the conversation as well. I mean, there's a lot of dealers out there, and I'm sure a lot of different opinions on this. So if you even want to come on and share something that's on your
or
board,
a user, an end user, an actual customer with some real world experience, positive or negative, that wants to join and kind of work through some of the challenges, talk about your experience and share. I mean, I think that's important because realistically, everybody's experience based on their lawn and what they tried and what they didn't try, I mean, is going to be different. So I think people would find that to be interesting. The shared experiences and also possibly the unique ones, and how many creeks it can go across in a thunderstorm.
yeah, did not know that.
So,
Next one is a thunderstorm and a ditch at the same time.
right.
Oh, geez, adding water to the equation. I don't know if he'll make it through that.
I think somebody had one. There was one where it went through a river. I saw it on YouTube or something. It was sitting in the middle of I mean, it wasn't like a lot of water, but it was like a couple inches of water. It's sitting in the middle of the creek as the water's rushing over it like a whitewater river or something.
Oh, geez.
I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think that's what it's built for. Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay, well, with no further ado, we're gonna go ahead and end this, and drop a comment or shoot us a text or email if you want to be notified for the next one or have something to add. So thank you guys both for joining us, and anyone who joined the audience. Have a good weekend.
Bruce,
See you next
good
time.
to meet you. Isaac, thanks much. You guys take care.
Nice meeting you guys. Thank you.